Welcome to the Language of Markets live session. It's Manic Monday, right? That would be chaos. Today's chaos. All right, so just a reminder to new members, check through the blog. Wrote some blog articles specifically for new members, like the foundations of trading and a few other things. And we wrote through several frameworks here. We did pressure cookers the other week. We're talking about presses today. And you can always email me with charts and questions. All right, we use Slack, and so you should get an invitation to Slack. And we love questions, all right? So this is all about trading and everything trading. And we hit several subjects over and over again, right? We'll spend a week or two on something particular, and then move on, and then come back, get a deeper level of it. And in the meantime, we work quite a bit with live markets and your questions, okay? That's right, Grace. All right, you guys are all having fun there. Morning, Rebecca. All right, so here's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about a framework, right? A basic framework for viewing markets, for trading markets using a press, a one-line press. We talked a pretty decent session on median lines Friday, and then we'll eventually take each one of those lessons. I like to take these lessons, all right? We'll introduce something. So we introduced our median line tools on Friday. And again, if you're new, you got access to all the recordings, so you can back up and watch the last week or so. So we did median lines. And we did an overview of our tools. And then what I like to do is take that a little deeper, and then we'll spend time later on with each tool, devoting several days or a week to, so we can get in depth with the whole thing. All right? So we're going to do some fun things today. But we're going to concentrate on the press. We're going to do a little review on our swings. Going to answer some questions, and I think we're going to start our own little research project today with the language of price. I think we're going to do some creating, start our own little research project. That way we can all learn. In the end, all right, I want to remind everybody, especially if we get some new people, I want to remind everybody, in the end, what I wish to do here for you and for me is to learn the language and get to a point where price is actually teaching us. Not any teacher, not any system, not any particular method, where we can actually get in here and learn from price itself. It's telling us, right? If we can read it, it's telling us what to do. It really is. It's telling us when buyers switch, when sellers switch. It's telling us via swings what's going on. It's telling us where, if we just look and we understand some of the things about the language, see, then we can begin to map a market just like this and pull the chaos out of it and the confusion out of it. And then we can have very intelligent decisions, right? We can keep going. Look at this simple chart. See, we can learn to structure it. And from that structuring, see that? From that structuring, we can decide what we wish. Do we wish to sell this with these sellers here? Right? See, we've just isolated some swings. Do we wish to buy this for break through these guys for this swing to keep rolling? And just doing this much gets us hooked into reading price, whether we're on daily or 20-minute yen, or we're on E-mini tick chart. See, now we can see the mountain, right? Because we know, and we can see the valley. We can see the swing. We can see the switch here. Right? You see them bunch. See, this is a different piece of language than everything else. See, you guys see this is what we're going to be talking about today. This little press here. It's a different piece of language than everything else. We can see them pressing, pressing, pressing. It's different than all of that. It's like when you're speaking with somebody, and you can get a feeling of where they're coming from or what they're trying to express to you. But you got to be there, right? You can't be elsewhere. If you want to get what they're trying to express to you, you got to be there. And the same thing, price is expressing something. So this little piece right here is an expression. It's a communication. Same with this one. It's an expression. It's a communication. There's a feeling in this. And then when you get, and we learn to see things, right? See, we know how to identify a gap all of a sudden. Zoom, retest. And then we can look at our 3 to 1 and we can consider, all right, are we getting ready to ride or not? Can I take an entry here? Or maybe an entry up here. But either way, just in this little, without seeing anything else, just in this little piece, we can see that on a monthly chart. Time frame doesn't matter. And so what we're after here is to learn how to take a chart and see it like this. Not just, where do I enter, right? We learn to see it and read it. Okay, swing, 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 trying, zoom. Okay, they just flipped these guys over. Just that is gold. Now, if you could take that in a bigger subset, this little piece here, it can end up being a 100-tick trade, 200-tick, whatever, depending on your time frame. But this is a language. It's an expression. It's a communication. And so this way, when we learn to read it, and we get here, we don't come into our trading rooms all, blah, 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 what do I do? Just set up and just memorize things. It starts with some memorization. But we learn the language, and then pretty soon price is teaching us something, at least about this short-term move. And then we can factor in what this might look like, with a bigger piece, if you want to. And then we decide, what swing are we trading, so on and so forth. But right here, does everybody in the room see that this little piece is different? Because this is what we're going to be studying for the next week or so. Everybody see that? You see that, Edward? That this little piece right here is different than other things? It's very distinct, right, Raj? Everybody sees that this little guy right here is very different than everything else. Yes. See, just that ability. And we're on our way to doing something new and different that almost nobody does in trading. See, we've changed the tune to saying, this has got a probability of this should work, this shouldn't work. Just being able to say, this is different. They're doing, and this is just changed. It's very organized, right, Phil? Just being able to do that, we are now on our way to being very, very independent without needing to learn a whole lot of complicated. And we can do that with other structures like this one. But just being able to do that, we can now look on the chart, any chart, anything we can chart, anything that fluctuates, that gets into this sort of organized behavior like this, and then zooms it the other way. And now we got a handle. Now we're not just sitting here lost. Now we're not waiting to plug something in. What do I do? This or that, this or that, this or that. And then as we learn this little piece of language, all right, we learn this little piece of language, all right. So now we go boom, boom. We wonder who's in control. But if nothing else, we see a battle going on, don't we? We see a battle. See, we're working live with this particular chart. So now we see a battle going on. Okay, we swung. But you have to be able to do this. Very simple, though, isn't it? To do this? It's very simple. You don't even need to do that. It's very simple to do that if you've done a little bit of practice and you can slow yourself down a little bit. So now we know. Okay, now we're going to find out here, maybe before the session's over. Right? If this little turn is going to plow through that. But if nothing else, we know something about these two areas right now, don't we? Whether we're in one or not in one. And I know trading, we always want to do something. We want to be doing, want to be in. Do. Right here, at least right here, I've lowered your choices to being in here or being in here. Or waiting to see who wins. And see, it wasn't magic that we reached up. See that? Yay! And then we're actually doing another little swing. It's hard to see in here, but this is going to be its own little swing. See, it's all in swings, one way or the other. And what we're doing is adding presses to swings. Now, when we started this chart, and those of you who are trading the ES or the other tick charts, did you see this simply? Probably not. Maybe you were looking at something else. But you can see this little piece in here in bigger pieces once we learn how to do it. All right? Once we learn how to do it, then you can see it in bigger pieces and you can adjust yourself appropriately. So now, if you're watching live, you get, what's it going to do here, right? What's it going to do? And I've yet to draw any other lines. We can draw median lines. We can draw lines up, so on and so forth, just to get an idea where this guy's going to land. But right here, this much was easy. And we could have made a decision to sell, or we could make a decision to buy. Hey, Winston, zooming in at the far right often changes your view. Yes. See, zooming into less data is what Winston's referring to. And I'm going to rephrase that part you said about view. It changes your experience of what you're seeing, right? We're going to get onto the lesson in a minute, but I thought, I like to work live with some of this stuff. It does. It changes your experience. All right. Changes your experience. Because it's a different experience if you're just like, what am I going to do? Or I got to hit this, or I got to chase this, or I have this particular squiggly line. That's a different experience that has nothing to do with price. And one of the big things we're trying to do is match our experience to what's actually going on. Which brings me to my topic for the week that I want to think about. The week before we thought about observation. And then we thought about dispassionate observation. And so I want to put attention on something this week while we're here. Since Winston kicked the door open, right? And Grace says experience, right? Changes our experience. So what I want to kick the door open to this week, just to think about, all right? It's just something that it might not help you trade immediately, but you know what? If you start to get it, it will help you trade. It'll be more than just one trade or two trade, right? Who cares about one trade or two trade? You take a short, you get stopped. I take a long here, I get, it's one trade. I want to learn. So the topic I want to look at this week is what is skill or ability. That's the topic I'm inviting you to put your attention on this week. Skill or ability. What is it? All right, I'm looking like what is the nature of it? And I'll sum it up really quickly in a couple pieces. It's basically, and when I say what is, I mean it doesn't matter if we're trading, right? This is skill or ability in trading, or it could be skill and ability in anything you do, in tying your shoes, in your favorite hobby, in cooking, in carving, in painting, dancing, doesn't matter. The way to check this out is not to read about it, but is to check it out in your own personal experience. So I'm just going to sum it up, what it is, and then we can dice it out. It's basically our actions must relate appropriately to what's actually occurring. That's it. That sums it up. Appropriately can be diced out to mean it gets us what we're after, our objective. That's what appropriately means. So in order to do that, well, we need to observe, set ourselves aside and observe what's there. That's the dispassionate observation part. Align ourselves to what's there, right? As Winston said, get our experience on the same page, joining what's there. And then you take appropriate action that's related to what you're after. If you're after 2 ticks, then appropriate action is, to get you 2 ticks. If you're after a swing, you're looking for an appropriate action to get you a swing. Everybody here might be after something a little different. Maybe they want a whole swing. Maybe you're looking for a 3-to-1 trade, right? And so your actions must be appropriate to that particular objective. If you want just to get a new hire, then your actions must be appropriate to that. And that's skill. So we need to know what objective we're after, what swing. If you're trading, say, a bigger swing, I don't know, maybe you're doing something like this. And you're trading a big swing up to here. Now we got to draw a whole new median line to find that. Then your actions must be appropriate to that. But as Winston mentioned, as we get in closer, our experience gets a little closer to what's going on here. It tends to be the more data we use, the more confusion we get. So right here, very simply, we can see we can make decisions no matter what they're doing, right? See, they scream up, ah! Now watch them. They scream down, ah! See, we don't want to be on that side all the time where we're chasing or we're chasing. We want to calm down and see what's going on. The ability coming from one's knowledge, practice, aptitude, etc. to do something well. Right, this is a definition. Now look at any time. What I'm saying is there are components to it. You have to listen. You have to relate. What I've done is I've broken it down into like real subtle things. You have to relate what you're after to what's actually there. And so what I'm asking you to do is think about when you've done something really well. Doesn't matter what it was. And we've all done things really well, even people like me. Think about when you've done something really well, and then what I'm asking you to do is to sit quietly with that and think about what actually went on in your own experience. It's a little bit beyond words. So we got to reach into personal experience for that. And this has everything to do with trading. Because this is like the ultimate skill set. Because it keeps changing and changing and changing. Goes up, goes down. We have to change with it. It's not like doing 2 plus 2. Learning to memorize a math table, that's a certain skill. And it's limited. Edward says you were talking more like the ODA loop, which is practice to constantly get a skill via action and feedback from the market teaching. No, and I think you're misinterpreting that. I'm saying just look into your own experience and dice out what skill and ability is. That loop basically said, hey, I can get into somebody else's loop and confuse them really easy just by changing really quickly. And so it was using what was going on. I'm just saying, look, see what's there. You have to see what's there. The biggest problem we have in this is we twist what's there. All right? I'll tell you right off the bat, the biggest problem we have is we twist what we're seeing, our experience, usually towards some sort of comfort level from some fear. We twist what we're seeing because we want this, we want that, we disconnect. That's the really big thing. Yeah, that OODA loop is combat applications. Basically, you're real easy. Confuse the guy by doing something a little weird out of his box. Switch gears really fast, and people don't like that. Our minds don't like that. But I want us to look. Our biggest problem is we twist what's there. And you do this by getting to the weekend and saying to yourself, wow, I know how to do that. Where was I? You twisted what was there. Okay? See, we take some simple methods, right? We take some simple methods, right? Some simple, very objective definitions like we've done. Very simple methods, right? We take that, and this is in order to get our experience a little bit closer to what's happening, minus all of our crazy. So we take some very simple things, and then I say follow. And, when it comes time, right, what's the biggest reaction leg on the board? See, this is just last week. And listen, I miss this stuff too. I do. I miss this stuff too. Why? I'll tell you. Same reason everybody does, right? We take some very, very simple. By the way, this is just what a median line does. That's all. Takes the A to B, projects it from C. Right? It's just what a median line's doing. That's it. Same level. So we take some very, very simple methods we've been learning like this. And we say, all right, follow. And then follow the largest swings on the way up. And it's probably this one, and that one gets beat. All right, that one gets beat. And then we say, follow these swings in this major reaction leg. And then notice we happen to get somewhere right around that same neighborhood. And then we say use the LSB, because if we know how to do swings, we know how to do this swing now. And just project, because this is just a median line also. And boom, there it is. So we take very simple things, very simple trades that we can do, like either just, there's not a good stop on this, but see, it literally turns using the same little system, right? There's nothing else I'm using here. Nate says, I mapped out the press swap in that market and still didn't get short. It was not skillful. Why? Because what happens is our experience changes somewhere, right around here. We're like, I ain't jumping in front of that train. So let's say our experience is to get a 3-to-1 trade out of this guy. Or, if you want to buy this, you say, I ain't jumping in front of that train, even though maybe you thought about it the day before but once you get there, or it depends on what it is, right? Zoom in on that run up, nice press to a high Thursday night. Yes, absolutely. See it? This is what Nate's talking about right there. There's our structure. Is that it, Nate? Grace says, yeah, that's what I thought. Hey, I do the same thing. I just want us to now be conscious of these things. So look at how simple this is. It's about the same size. It's about the same size. And now we have price telling us where these last buyers are, because we can recognize, by the way, this is the same thing we looked at in the ES. We can recognize something that's distinct in all of this. That little guy, boom, 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 expand, right? That's distinct. And so now we don't have to just jump in, but you see, this is the feeling here. This is why investors, traders have been having a hard time for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's screaming here, right? Let's hop on the bandwagon. It's screaming here. Let's hop on the bandwagon short. But look, right here, see, that's a different experience. And we all know it. I don't care how super cool you say you are. We all know when it gets there, you start to doubt things. But this is what price is doing. It might not keep doing it, but that is what it's doing. And so a big part of skill is to keep our experience attuned to what is actually there. That's really the hardest part. See, right here, price is teaching us. See, we're switching. See the bigger bar here? See the big bar? See, this is the language. It's saying, hey! It's screaming. Retest. Mountain. Valley. And so my point being is, look at how simple this is for a 3-to-1 trade. And, if you ain't on here, what about here? Or even, here. And then we have to ask ourselves, what were we seeing at the time, even though we know how to do this? Right? And this is just one method. This is just looking at swings. And so that's my point. We get there, and all of a sudden, like the whole thing changes, and we got a whole new world in our view, and we don't want to be wrong, and now we're risking money. And this is keep it simple, stupid. But when we get time right there, right, there's a contraction that goes on. There's a whole rearranging of our experience. Why? Because now we have to put ourselves on the line. We have to be willing to be wrong. We got to be willing to die with it. It's one thing to see it. It's another thing to actually put your butt on the line. And so our experience changes based on fear. And so that's really the toughest part in skill, is my point. And I'm just trying to point it out so you can see it for yourself, whether it's in trading or anything else. If you're trying to do something with your boss or whoever and you're trying to impress them, there's going to be a lot of tension and a lot of fear. And it's going to twist you up a little bit. And you won't be able to do what you need to do skillfully. And so a lot of these simple methods is what Edward said. It's to keep it simple. And basically relax your mind a little bit. Everybody knows how to do this. And so you got to ask, what was I? No, I'm not saying beat yourself up. Because, you're going to do this next week too. You're going to miss these simple things. I'm going to. But you got to ask, what's going on? And now you can point yourself curiously to some of these things. I sit on my butt, so I never put it on the line, right? My wallet's another, right? It's not just the money, we don't like to be wrong. Nobody loves you if you're wrong. And so let's just put some attention, because that's the toughest part when it comes to skill, is seeing what's actually there. Now, it's no big deal in some things that aren't very threatening. All right? But we come to trading, we're risking our money. It's a little more threatening, although it's the same thing. Thank you, Edward. Nate says, that's the biggest change I noticed after working with myself rather than for a boss. Much more purposeful. Yeah. And so then appropriate is just mechanically saying, what's there? My action is going to relate appropriately. Appropriately means, what am I after? Okay, I'm after a 3-to-1 trade. Boom. I got it there, right? Or if you're after a bigger swing, you need to take an appropriate action for a bigger swing, so on and so forth. And then we change with change. But even doing this little piece of review work, it's good for us to see and become conscious of this little piece of review work here. And we laid out instructions for this, and I'll lay out instructions again. Basically, follow reaction legs, and then follow the majors of the impulse leg, and then follow the majors of the major reaction leg, and then follow these on down. So on and so forth. My point being is, why do we miss things that are very easy that we already know? We end up in our same old loops of doing things the same old way to keep out of being scared. And no median line setup is going to save us from that. And we have to be willing to lose a lot. All right? It takes a lot of practice. So let me finish what I was saying about ability, right? First, we see what's there. That's the observation part. We talked about dispassionate observation to get a little better look at what's there, minus our painting. We align ourselves to what's there, joining it with our minds, right? Whether we're trading or not, we don't want to be resisting what's going on. And then we relate all that to our objective. And then we align ourselves. We make corrections along the way because it's a constant activity. You're a little off, align yourself. Don't beat yourself up. And I'm talking about what skill is. Skill is not guessing which way the market's going to go all the time and being right once in a while. That's called guessing. And you'll be right once in a while, and you'll brag, and you'll forget about the times when you were wrong, which will be most of the time. That's called guessing. Something completely different. All right. So I just wanted to put attention on it. It's real easy. Look at anything you've done well in your life. Take it apart. What was there? There are certain mechanics that have to be there for ability. And then we can work on that. That's a little bit more on the internal side of trading, which is a big deal. All right, so now let's do a little work. I had a question from somebody. I want to do a little creating, and then we'll get into our lesson here. Let me see if I can find this chart. All right, we got a chart here, and we got a question from a member. So right away, you should be able to see what he's doing, right? You see he's doing the major swing, the minor swing. And then he's marking out some presses. And don't worry, we're going to be spending some weeks on this press structure because it's distinct. See? It's very distinct. Imagine this like the ES. It's very distinct. So his question is I've been practicing following, and I have a question. I know you gave us instructions on how to follow, pretty much play action legs, but I want to ask if it's okay to play reaction legs as well, or should I stay away from it for now and focus on action? So we'll clean up that terminology here in a minute. I have a major reaction blue and a minor reaction red. This is from him. And it looks like price zoomed the area that I marked the press as it's swinging up. So it looks like price has zoomed the area that I marked the press as it's swinging up. I see a press here, right? It didn't zoom it. That's not a zooming it. Not yet. Right? That's a toying with it. Right? It's just hanging out right there in this particular case. Maybe it'll zoom it, maybe it won't. So this is good. Now he's following swings this way, right? And so he says, is it okay if price comes down to the area marked tail to go long, right here, or not, since it's against the overall trend? So you get what he's trying to ask. If I do, what should be my target and why? So he's looking at different targets. And the same area of price action can be considered a press structure, pressure cooker. At the same time I marked it. This won't be a pressure cooker. Let's leave pressure cookers out because we're adding something. Let's just use swings and presses for now, okay? Pressure cookers was a couple weeks ago lesson. We want to limit things. We don't need to see everything at once. We just want to see a couple things. Right? We're going to frame, you can frame it in the median line and swings and presses. He says, I'm probably complicating, but always curious. I play this as well, or is it too much since neither reaction, like blue or red, isn't broken? All right. So number one, I'm never going to tell you, you should always do this or you should always do that. I'm going to say, let's use this to learn something. There is no answer that says, just because this, you do this. That's a computer program. All right. Yeah, everybody's different, Nate. I like white. Some people like black backgrounds, and some people like gray backgrounds, and some people like purple backgrounds. Now you're sympathetic to my hex codes now, huh? But this is pretty clean. This is more of a charcoal. It's not too bad. And so I never want to say, it's okay to do this. It's okay to do. It's actually okay to do anything you want on a chart as long as you use a stop, all right? So let's use this to learn. Remember, I'm not doing a system saying automatically do that if that. Don't ever do that if that. I have almost no taboos in my trading other than my risk management, which I stick to. Other than that, I am willing to do anything. The goal, the objective of these simple methods is mostly to relax your mind a little bit so you can see what you need to do. And remember, when I'm using things like swings and presses, I'm not building a system. This is more of an entry for us to get entered into real live trading. Listen, trading is messy. It's the messy that makes it real for anything in life. If it ain't messy, it ain't real, okay, guys? Trading is messy. There is no way you're going to clean it. If it ain't messy, it ain't real, and you're just reading somebody's prettied up presentation. So trading is messy. So I'm never going to tell you it's okay to do that. You know how you find out? You buy it. And then you learn. But I want to take this and I want to use this as a diving board to do some things. Because I want to learn from this. I'm curious. What's going to happen? And what we need to do here is make some distinctions the same way we did with our press. So, well, we have a grounding point. All right, so let's take this chart. Let's put it on mine. I love the way he mapped it, though, and I love the questions. He mapped it perfectly, all right? I don't know if it's okay to get long here. It's okay if you want to. Know what you're doing. That's all. Know what you're about. There's never going to be, if you're looking for a system, I'm going to keep disappointing you. Because I can't give a system because there is no system that works. We can read price. But we can take this in some directions maybe we didn't think of. So let's put this on my chart and let's start our own little project here. And what is that? The Australian CAD? So let's start our own little project here. Let me find an Aussie CAD. And this will be fun. And we'll put this guy, we'll stack him up over here. And that was a 240, right? All right, so that's the current. So let's map it first. So this way we know what we're doing. That's his major swing. I love his mapping. He's caught right onto it. A new low here. So remember, these swings, these presses, it's an entry into overall trading. It's not, it can be used as a system, okay? It's not half bad, actually. It's not half bad as a system. But it's still, if you treat it mechanically, it's not going to work for you because price will always do some things different. So I'm saying let's mark out the language of price a little bit. And this is his press. Although his data is a little bit different than mine, I'm going to go with it. It looks fine to me. Okay. So we have major swing, we have minor swing. And I can see what he's thinking about. Oh, and he marked out this one. And just as a reminder, see, this is a good lesson. Our press structure, all right? His data is a little bit different. But a press structure is going to be two relative swings that pull back into each other, right? An organized behavior that then expand. So we have two same size swings showing a bit of organization that then expand, just like that. And so we can see he's looking at these down in here. He's doing something like this, saying, all right, there's a bit of organization right there. And he's saying that's a press. And then we can see it. It expands. It expands. So right there, we're seeing something in a chart. And I'm being as objective as I can with these structures, although there's always going to be some leave room somewhere. And so we can see it's a good structure. It's a solid structure. Boom, seller, 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 new low. It's a solid structure. Did we have the last swing marked out? He didn't, but I'm going to, Nate. I'm going to. So we have major swing, minor swing, a bigger press here, and then a smaller press here. So we're already dicing the language out a little bit. And his basic question was, can he go ahead and, get long? Let's take this out for a minute. Down in here. See, this was his chart. This was his question. Can he get long down even though the overall trend is down? And where should his target be? Let's even take this out for a minute. Just look at the swings. Because this is going to lead to a project for us. So remember, if you're following swings, you want to follow, if I'm following this red swing here, right? I want to follow these on down and, this one from this leg. So we're making distinctions. Yes, he can get long, but is it a good idea? We don't know yet, Edward, right? We're going to we're going to work into that, whether it might be a good idea or not. So this is going to be the last swing broke. So what I'm kind of curious about right now is if, we pull back, would that be a decent long to get into, for whatever. Okay. So here's what he's doing with this particular chart in essence. He's saying, all right, we've made a new low. We've made a new low. There's some switcheroo action down in here. Is there a chance, since swings swing, to take it back up at least, right? Isn't that what he's saying? Swings are swinging, just like we saw with the yen. He's saying, all right, we've made a new low. Is there a chance to take it back up? That's basically what he's saying here. So think about the yen for a minute. Okay. All right, we've made a new low, right? Is there a chance to take it back up is what he's saying. And then we can maybe use some swings on this side to say maybe there's a chance to take it back up to at least here. Buy the gap up to the blue median line, right? So this is a way to take it back up. I just want to see what we're doing. And it looks like there was, right? Swing, swing. But there's always a chance we're going to keep rolling down. So this is what he's asking. Looks like our ES is still trapped. And so here's where I want to do our project, right? Winston says, buy the gap up to the blue median line. Sure, we can do that. But here's what I want to do. So first I want to know what it is we're doing with the trade, or any trade. So he's basically saying the major made a new low. So obviously, let's model this. We have a minor swing here, minor swing here. We have a new low, and price is now in this phase. Would everybody agree that that's pretty much the model of what we got going right now? Yeah? All right. So this is the exciting part. We've learned how to see different structures, like this press structure. We've learned how to see gaps. And see, just because we can see a gap and an outside bar, it doesn't mean it's an automatic buy. It's liable to run into its brother up here, right? So there's no system, type 1, 2, or 3. But let's do this. We've learned how to see gaps. We've learned how to see presses. We've learned how to see pressure cookers. We've learned how to see various things in the language of price. Now, this is a bigger situation. So let's pretend we've learned some of the words. Now we want to learn some more of the story, the sentences. So let's do a research project. First, we have to know the condition price is in. We have to be able to do this. And what we want to ask ourselves now is when price is in this configuration, this is a particular configuration, the same way this is a particular configuration. See, this is just, it's got more moving pieces to it. It's a major swing. Let's just label it. See, we're doing classification work here. All right, we're like Darwin. All right, we're classifying things. So this is a major swing with minor confirmed swing And where's the minor? Let's make it a little more representative. Where is the minor confirmed swing happening? Clean air? But let's relate it to something. Underneath the low, right? Underneath or at the major low. With a minor confirmed swing, and what I would like to do is take several of these, rather than just say, hey, do this when this shows up. Once we can do this, what I would like to do is take several of these particular structures. See? Press structure is a structure. Gap is a structure. What I would like to do is take several of these structures that are adding multiple pieces and classify them and put them in research folders for us to work on. I'm going to, we've been looking at putting a forum option in the website so we can maybe start something like this. Yes, Grace, our very own trading lab, our very own research. Yes. So treat this as if we're the only traders in the world that have to figure out and write about the language of price and how to trade it. And this is a very good exercise to approach it rather than just listening to me saying do this or do that. And then, because I've got a few of these, there's a few of these that seem to come up. Boom, boom, boom. Nate says, you really are Darwin. He would constantly ask other explorers for specimens. Oh. What was the ship? The Beagle? We're on the Beagle? I forget. I think it was the Beagle. Something like that. See, all those guys, they get so excited just seeing different species of beetles and such. But let's do this and classify and watch, because there are several that will keep coming up. And then we can track the configuration. So we're getting a little more into context now. We're getting a little more into context and understanding context. So rather than say, is it okay? It's okay for you to do anything. I'm never going to tell you, this is a system. Do this, don't do that. The whole idea of going like this and like this is to relax you a little bit. Really. Sometimes I'm doing my analysis via swings and median lines, okay? Sometimes I'm doing my analysis. Like I don't have this yet, right? See, I don't have any. Sometimes I'm doing my analysis via swings and median lines. And then all of a sudden, I'll look at a chart and I'll say, does everybody see this clumping? Everybody see that? Everybody see that outside bar? So let's say I'm doing swings and median lines. So everybody sees this outside bar, this clumping, and does everybody see this? Right? Now all of a sudden we poked above it and broke all these buyers. Okay, I'm trying to give you an example of trading. So I might be looking, I'll be doing this, is what I'll be doing. Okay, can I sell that here? See, that's a good start. I like that. There's a gap. But this simply lets me see the chart. Then I see, oh, look at that. And I say, well, hell, I can make some money here. That's easy. I can get a new low. Without a median line telling me what to do, or a system telling me what to do, it's just that it's still a swing, isn't it? And so sometimes when doing this work and considering whether it's a good idea to do a long here or a short here, you just look at price. This is what trading is. You look and see where there's some sort of disjointing. And you trade. You buy, you sell, right? You buy at a bargain, you sell higher. You sell and you so on and so forth. And you buy back lower. But just in doing this, rather than doing a system, I say, oh, that's just easy. Sell it. Take my money at new lows. Just like that. You know, I might use some structure for a target. You know, this is going to be structure for me. Okay, see? That's a swing high because I understand swings. That's a structure for me. See, we talk about this. That's a piece of the language. And then I'll take my money. And it had nothing to do with this blue line up here. So we do want to eventually get away from systemizing things. And I think it's going to be a really good idea for us to begin to classify some of these, and then we can go, see, now that you see this, you'll recognize it again. Okay, now that you see this, you'll recognize it again. Okay, now I'm going to keep working. Doesn't mean there wasn't a good trade in here. Now follow me on this. All right, so we have minor, we have major. We've obviously beaten the minor here. This is going to lead to us, really, it's going to take some time. But we're going to classify patterns, multifaceted patterns like this. I don't think Slack's a good place to do it because, you know, we're going to have 5 or 6 of them. We can try doing it in Slack, but either way, you can start to do it on your own. Because this will lead to understandings. And so one of the things from me doing this kind of work, and now I'm encouraging you to do this kind of work, one of the things that will happen is we come up with some models that I teach. Let me show you. Let me find it. Right here. You guys remember this one? This is a particular model I teach. Right here. And this is a pretty old chart. When I started teaching, I just call it, you know, minor into major. Slack posts a timeout after a while anyways. We'll figure it out. But you guys on board for this little project, whether you start yourself or not, make a file folder for different things. All right? And we will name them in particular. And maybe by the end of this whole project, maybe in a year, we'll have material for our own library, our own little book that we can post for ourselves. And Edward says, yeah, we need to find trades for me too. Yeah, thank you. I do have an ulterior motive. This helps me, right? We'll need a curator and a repository on the site. Yes, I know. I'm still learning to change the color of a button on the site, Nate. So I'm working on it. We're moving as fast. So I got a lot of good ideas for the site, Nate. And you guys are helping with a lot of creative ideas. Edward's got a lot of creative ideas. Grace has a lot of creative ideas. Yeah, we got some things going. But you see, I built this a long time ago as a particular setup, as a particular piece of language. And so what we'll do is this isn't the only way price configures itself. It configures itself in different ways. But one thing we need to do is we know what a major swing is, what a reaction leg is, where in the major swing, where in the minor swing, what is an impulse leg, what is a press, what is a gap. And this is a very big project. And if we do the work ourselves, we gain. We gain. We know more than anybody else about it because we're doing personal work into it. And so I'm going to be doing this as we go, and I encourage everybody else, whether you're watching the recordings or whether you want to participate with charts or not, to do the same thing. Make your own little file folders. Because just the way I outlined a press, we'll call this minor into major. Minor swing expands into major swing. And one of my blog posts at some time, I showed you a live gold tick chart where I did this in live, messy, real time. And you know what? I just saw that puppy coming from a mile away. Why? Because I do this kind of work. And so there's no way for me to just take a single chart and a single line and say, is it okay to do that? Is it okay not to do that? I'd rather encourage our learning. Because if I tell you it's okay, and you do it, if it doesn't work, you blame it on me. It's my fault, right? If it does work, maybe you give me some credit. Yeah, right? Cannot pass off this responsibility, Gina says. Why? If it does work, maybe you give me some credit and maybe you're a genius, Grace. But if I tell you to do it and it does work, and even if you give me the credit for it, there's still a problem, which Gina mentioned. You don't own the thing. I own it. Now you have to be scared that I could take it away. So never listen to anybody tell you, do this here. Don't do that there. Me or anybody else. Because real, live, messy trading does not work like that. It does not. Now, we've tightened up our money management. We're not trading like Andrews, who was just stop and reverse all over the place, right? Doesn't mean you can't do that. But real trading is messy. Yeah, there's something about a fish in there, right? You can lead a horse to water, but can't teach him to fish. And so we're going to spend some time. I think we're going to classify many things. And there's not that many, actually. But we have to be very particular in our wording. All right? And we have to be very curious. So let's follow this one out live. Here's what I see, right? Regardless of swings, we've beat the red. I still see this press. I still see this clump. Look at this. Clump. So there's always going to be one little factor that's going to add to the skill we were talking about. That isn't going to be just do this, do that. There's always, it's like riding a bike. There are so many impulses firing off that your body learns to balance, to move. You got to get those in your bones. You can't check them off by reading a physics book. And the same thing with trading. You know, we're going to learn these structures. We're going to learn the language, okay? So if we have this, so we can just go like this for now. And we can get really, really curious what goes on here. So we can make a note with this particular model. Okay. And we're not really building a system, but just the fact of us seeing this stuff, you will learn those little impulses that say lean this way on the bike, lean that way on the bike. And then when it comes time to pull the trigger, boom. So let's watch here. I love this whole little zoom. This whole little area is the little try area, right? So now let's get a hand. See, notice I've spent some time on this one chart. We didn't even get to our lesson today. Notice I've spent some time on this chart. All right? So now guess what I've seen? Sellers, a mini swap of buyers. A push, a try. Okay? I'm getting a handle on this chart. You'll use my sounds? No way, you got to make up your own sounds. Go sing in the shower. Come up with some sounds. We're not going to use Edwards, that's for sure. Who knows what he's using. So let's put some skin in the game. All right? Because we're going to follow this guy. It's got time. We're going to follow this guy live. Anybody want to sell it? Or, you know what? You can wait for price to do something really funky up here. But anybody want to sell it? Anybody want to buy it when it pulls back to the LSB? Anybody want to sell it and buy it? Let's just play a little bit, right? We'll get a little skin in the game here. Nate says, I kind of want to sell it for a chip shot. Well, put your butt on the line, Nate. And we'll have more tension on it. And if it doesn't work, we can say it's all Nate was wrong. I have orders in for the bump gifts. So you like this guy here, Winston, huh? All right. So we'll put a little marker here. We'll put a little marker here because this is whenever I put this little marker, it's where we left the chart off live. And you know, I'm just going to go with goers here. I'm just going to sell it. All right? Going down, sellers, push trade, sell it. No, I ain't playing your audios. Edward, forget about it. I know better. You're on a 3-second delay. I need a 7-second delay for you. Okay, so we're going to begin the slow process of classifying multifaceted patterns. And then Wednesday we'll get back to our one-line lesson, all right? But don't forget everything I've said today about, you know, making some distinctions. What we did with the one-line press is make one distinction. Now we're making many and combining them into a story. Either way, price is telling us a story. Now, if you come back to my chart that was the minor and the major, it's got some further pieces that help us pinpoint entries. So this is something, if you're new or if you're even just new this month, you probably didn't see these lessons. But this is something where we're in particularly looking at the upper parallel of the minor median line. In particular. And what it is, it's a minor that gets busted. And what usually happens is we watch the minor, and even gives you a secondary entry on the way down. But the median line is a good place to look. And we went through a long period of classifying a bunch of those. But now we're going to get serious about our classifying. Now we're going to get a little more serious, and we're going to put them into folders somewhere, and we're going to start to name them. Phil says, I'd like to sell it into the gap, into the major swing. Oh, you want the big boy, right? Phil just wants to wait. Phil's patient. Phil just wants to hit that guy right there. Boom. Minor into major, right? Let's take a look at what that median line is going to look like, Phil. Ah, Phil's already seeing it, huh? Could be that or that. Phil's doing that little setup. Right like that. See, now we're adding messiness to it, but that's okay, right? Phil's saying, yeah, hit me here. You guys mess around with all this little stuff. You hit me here. And then our tools, look at that. How's that for a 1.5, Phil, right? There's convergence. And the rest of us, Phil, are saying, maybe get on up there. We'll take a little piece on up that way. I'm saying price just going to push straight down. Not even going to do a Hagopian. Ah, now we're rocking. Pretty cool. Take a picture. But do you see how we start with seeing something, and then when you see it on your ES tick chart, you're like, oh, I've looked at about 1,000 of those. And it gives you a little bit more of a handle. It's like seeing the press structure, but now you're seeing the press structure. Now you're seeing this whole thing as one piece. And this is its configuration. And that's its configuration right there. But trading can be relatively simple with just seeing the press structure. So to sum up for anybody who's new or anybody who's been here for a while, we're learning the language of price so that price can teach us. And we're learning to see things, whether it's a tick chart or not, that make things distinct. And even this is a particular configuration, but we're not going to cover this one today. Come on, guys. Didn't this look really ugly when it was right here live? You think I'd have been able to convince anybody to put their money on this long? No. Right? No. I'm just saying, let's think about that. Let's think about that. Still not doing anything exciting. And then, yeah, maybe you, Edward, you're used to that. And then, it's the zooms that we want to pay attention to in this thing. Zoom. Ah, now we're in play. Now something's going on. Let's look at one more let's go ahead and look back at that New Zealand. Okay? Maybe we'll do this on Wednesday. This is a market we worked. Okay? This is a market we worked. This is a particular structure here. How can we word this so we can begin to classify? We actually did one of these. I remember we did one of these in the euro. This one's a little more complicated, but let's look at this for a minute. So what sticks out right away on this guy? We have a major swing low. Let's do this, right? There's a swing. So what sticks out on this guy? Doesn't this? That's the big tail, isn't it, Gina? Isn't this the big tail? Isn't that the big mountain? Didn't that stick out? In essence, price is doing something like this. So watch. Price is doing something like this. See, it's coming down. Okay? Look, same size swings even. See that? Price is doing something like this. Now, we're used to seeing mountains and valleys. And then we get this huge mountain at this point. Huge mountain. Big mountain, right? It goes all the way up the ladder. Huge mountain. I mean, huge straight up, huge straight down. Price just coming down, coming down, coming down, coming down, coming down, coming down. It won't quit. It's just coming down, coming. Come on, we were just selling the hell out of this thing all the way down. And then all of a sudden you get, boom. Now, isn't that a little bit different than if price was going up, 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 going up? And now you get a mountain up here. Different, isn't it? This expanded back into its stuff. This expanded out of it. Okay. This is kind of an oddball pattern, which is why I'm grabbing it today. This is kind of an oddball thing here. Price is just coming down, coming down, coming down, coming down, whoosh. And then at this point, wouldn't you think we're going to new lows? Yeah, right? Look at that. Everybody got super tricked here. See, this is reading price as a trader. Big pop. Okay, all we're doing is, what it looks like to me is we're taking this swing and expanding it. That's what it looks like to me. Okay? But what does price not do? It does not take out the low, right, Phil? And then on top of it, what does it do after that? It goes ahead and takes out the high. Interesting. That's our model. Like, whoa, right? That's a big, especially if you guys were following this through April, through May. For 2 months, all we were doing was selling this thing. Boom, 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 boom. It was easy. Wake up and sell it. And then as Edward mentioned, all of a sudden there's a big change, right? This is like bust everybody's loop. Now what? You don't necessarily have to do anything here, although there are some clues. But, oh, okay. So this is a piece of structure. This is a piece of structure all by itself. And it's something that's going to go into our database. We're going to have to work this out another day, but it's something that's going to go into our database. And, you know, what I did with a particular student was identify a press. See, there's our press. We have a few swings, same size, that expand. That do not hold, right? They hit it, knock them down, do not hold. This is a minor going into a major here. And then we make a new high, and now we're swinging. And nobody in their right mind wants it here, but we're just swinging. We're just swinging. So this is a particular pattern here. This, and we have a name for it. It's a mountain. This mountain, you know, after, you know, that. And then on top of it, a new high. So as long as you weren't crying in your soup about missing it somewhere, there was a beautiful opportunity to make a good amount of ticks, over 100 ticks, with a simple reading. So we want to ask ourselves, where were we in all of that? But now, if we learn to see this, we've now made a distinction in something we didn't have a distinction in before. And it can go into our database. And as we train like this, as we train like this, as we train like this, we become traders, getting to feel the language of price, not just, should I do this if this does that, and should I not do that? Now we get to learn. Now we get to learn. See, this is a little bit of a different configuration. We have minor swings, pulls up into the new low, and that will go into our database. Nate says, interesting, the press happens about halfway down the big leg. Yeah, I'm leaving some stuff out, Nate, but if you look, watch. Because we can't do everything. But let's take a little bit closer look. Nate's got his curiosity up, which is good. Price reaches up. It gaps right here. So just by seeing this gap, we know we're zooming something. Don't know what, but just by seeing that gap, we know we're zooming something. So it's good to get curious and start to look at these things now. And you get to see how certain structures piece themselves out. And so we know how to mark a gap, don't we? It's part of our standard language. Grab the bottom third if it's an upward gap. And we see this outside bar. So without knowing anything on the left, Winston, you're seeing presses. We add all this language up, right, Nate? Or right, Winston? We add all this language up and we start to see. This is one of our patterns also. Right? Press, 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 zoom, boom. But right here, you see there was a little bit of something that happened in price. So this becomes this is a separate lesson. Okay, forget presses right now. Let's just do, since we're talking mountains, let's just do mountains. This becomes the possible minor mountain, and that becomes the major mountain, right? So if we're looking in process, and we have contraction, price comes up, price stalls. We have one relative gap. We have two relative gaps. This becomes a major mountain, a minor mountain, and this becomes a major mountain. See, now we've switched from presses to mountains, but where do you think a press comes from a lot of times? So we have gap, we have gap. In process, we have boosh, stall, price comes down. We don't know that this is a good minor mountain or not, but this looks like the place in here, doesn't it? See price reacting? And then it presses right on through it. So this is a type 1 on the minor, a type 2 on the minor, and a type 1 on the major. And then as we get back over here, right, we can see it. This whole thing tried to create for us this minor mountain. So our lesson isn't on minor and major mountains today, but we're just learning from Nate's curiosity since we've done these lessons before. So you can forget presses and just do mountains if you want. You got to wait for a mountain structure. It is good stuff, right? We got to wait. I'm sorry if you're new and you're a little lost, but we'll be going over mountains and stuff as we go. Notice when I look at mountains, I forget presses and everything else. When I look at presses, I forget mountains and everything else. Because it's really just a way to visualize price using a particular structure. Don't try and do it all at once. But usually a mountain will create a press if it drives on through. And then we see it, right? We see it react. Ah, new high. And then this will become our stepping up point, because this is where a lot of bodies got smashed here. Don't even need to know why. Rolled on through, stalled, said boom. So now we found the bodies. And that's what a stepping up after a new high, and so now we're thinking about stepping up. And so that's what goes on. So that's a minor mountain and a major mountain. Which is why we look at, it's one of our principles. We look at everything in minor and major, minor and major, minor and major. And trading can be as simple as that, the minor mountains and the major mountains. But those are separate lessons. But I would like to classify this particular pattern of a mountain that comes after this hard driving down and then makes a new high. See, in essence, this is like this. If we were talking bars, price was doing this. And then all of a sudden, it got down somewhere, and it went like this. It opened and closed, leaving this big, huge tail, and did not go any farther. This represents the open of the tail, the close of the tail. Actually, it's kind of more like this, right? And then price went ahead and drove. Remember, a tail is representing sellers. And then instead of going down, price drove right back up through those sellers. Right through, drove a tunnel right up through them to come landing back somewhere like that. And so that's trading, not memorizing a pattern, but understanding. Look at the amount of sellers it took to knock price back down here and then to rip through. This is like seeing all of a sudden everything's cheap because people are scared. Let me pick some up and sell some more later, you know. This is like a big, huge, monster telegram of what actual buyers and sellers are doing. Like the housing market, like anything, Phil, right? Like a flea market, like anything. Like anything. If you can see where sellers put so much effort and then had it drove right back up into their face, oh, then it's just a matter of where do I buy it? And that's where our little pattern comes in. That's just helping us. See, this little pattern is just helping us to see everything I just talked about. The key was this, the driving back up into their face. Does everybody get that? That is people getting hurt, right, Gina? Yes. That is people, and Edward, that is people's loops getting freaked out, right? It took a lot to sell that. So remember the questions we always ask. Listen, all of my lessons roll into each other. What got zoomed? What happens after? So I think today this is a better lesson than, here, memorize this structure. We'll go to the memorize this structure thing on Wednesday, right? But understand this. When you see that and it drives back up through, hey, I'm okay. Sell it here. Sell the crap out of it. Get stopped. Get a new high. Aha, I get it. You know, take a 30-tick stop, make a 120-tick profit. You're making money as a trader now, even if you weren't perfect the first time. And we've talked this tail pattern before. So we'll figure out how to classify this, and it'll go into our thing. Because this is a beauty, because if you can get it here, you can get it at a bar level and use it as a confirmation. This is the language of price. Don't expect to put all this together at once today, right? But we want to understand this is trading. We see something because we can make these distinctions, and that is skill. So even in skill, our actions must relate appropriately to what's going on. We still need to make the distinctions in what's going on. You know, that's the push-ups. But something like this is so obvious. This was an easy trade. Not only that, it lets you put money on the way down, too. It made it easy for you. Type 2, type 3, via this. Edward says, just their pocketbook, Gina. No, more got hurt than their pocketbook. Their little itty-bitty feelings got hurt, didn't they, Gina? It ain't doing what I want. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up before I can go all day like this. But this is trading. Be able to make certain distinctions, and we got to work on the distinctions. But see, what got zoomed? What happens after? Make a decision. Find a place for, you know, you can make a stop and you make an understanding here of price. So we mixed up a whole bunch of lessons today. But I really wanted to keep talking about what is trading, right? What is skill? That's skill. It's not just I should do that if that. That's a computer program. And we'll think about how we want to classify certain patterns. So already begin to put your attention on that. And we'll see you Wednesday. I appreciate you guys. Take care.